that come with the game. That's when you know.
Yes, y'all. I'm back. I know I've been gone. I appreciate all the well wishes. Felt good to be back in the gym. Welcome to the Junior the Golden Boy Boxing Show. And the show that y'all requested for months now have been requested to have back. That was the most funnest show. Even in the gym today, you guys, these different teammates were talking to me about this episode, wondering about when I was going to have this man back. And I couldn't let go of the surprise. But I got him back. And out of the love of me, and he always, like I always say, always looks after me. He always like, man, oh yeah, no problem. Let's do it tomorrow. I got you. Click up just that easily. Like, yeah, I got you. I'm coming on. Click, hung up like it was nothing. And it still just baffles me to this day. And we're so honored to have him back. The man of himself from Guard Your Grill Boxing, Mr. Cole, is here to cook up again with us, y'all.
Hey, what's up, little bro? I'm glad you healthy,
Man,
doing well. Appreciate having me on. Pleasure is all mine. Love what you're doing. I'm here to support it. So let's get to work.
man, I was just telling you backstage before we went live that I think I done made it in this world now. I guess I'm moving up in the world because now I got people on my page talking trash to me. And I swear, all I did, I'm starting to learn the hard way that no matter what you done said in the past about a fighter, good can go smack out the window as soon as you say something that somebody don't agree with. They was
Mhm.
talking about, and I'd love to get your opinion on this. There's been a lot of stuff about the lawsuit with Devin and Ryan and whatever. I hate to have to go over this again, but I've always given Devin his props. I said he's doing it the old school way. This man didn't do no I'm across the street mess. He said, I'm gonna give you two fights. I'm gonna give you one fight on this network, one fight on that network, give you two fights on that network. All right, I'll take the trip overseas and do that. He did it the right way. But and I said that even despite me disliking how they may carry that him and his team carry themselves. When it came to this situation with the lawsuit, all I said was, from my experience and from what I've seen with these eyes, if your name's not Miguel Cotto, I don't want to hear about a lawsuit. That's all I said. And I said, you got to see where I'm coming from with this. This man took a beating that night in Cotto. Took a beating.
Uh-huh.
And his father said, I boxed in the Navy. I seen things. You see things in boxing, but my son was bleeding out of his eyeballs. And you got to think about what his wife went through, building him back up physically and mentally. And then he fights him again, and he avenges it, breaks Margarito in certain ways to where he ruined Margarito's eye to where he was done after that, which was like literally, all right, you got me on this, I'll get you on that. But that fight changed Cotto forever. He was still would get you out of there. He still was seeking to get you out of there if he needed to. But that fight, that beating that he took that night, changed him. And I said, when it comes, and you got to think, this is Horsehair Reyes is on, and I had to explain to people about. I just had my little cousin wear Reyes's 2 fights ago, but I had him wearing the Safe Tech ones, and those is foam, but really soft, squishy, ain't as thick as Grant or as thick as Power Lock. And now imagine the horses. And I say, when you open up a Reyes glove, you see it there, you see all these sixes on it. Like, what do these sixes mean? And I had to explain to you that means that if you fight a 12-round fight, they mark 2 sixes off.
Mhm.
And that means how the gloves break down. So yeah, I think Margarita wore those gloves, then had the plaster on his knuckles, and then they pouring water on his head, and his hand starts to sweat, and the glove gets hot. That stuff hardening and hardening and hardening, and then the glove breaking down more and more and more, and he just coming forward. And this guy on my page, Mr. Cole, gave me this long salute. I mean, he took time to write this. He did. He gave me not one, but two of them. And I said, he says, can't believe you going against him, yada, yada, yada. And two, it wasn't even Margarito. It was Margarito's trainer. Bruh.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now? Like, seriously? Like, I ain't never in my life got my hands wrapped and not knew what was going on. Never. You mean to tell me you gonna wrap your hands and you mean to tell me your hands is getting wrapped? You know how your hands feel. You know when a guy's doing a knuckle pad, and you know when he's reaching in his bag and he's used this pad before. Which his trainer had used before. Because you saw the red dye on the side of the padding, and you saw different colored dyes from this fight and this fight on the padding. And the point I was making with Devin to the guy, I said, look, I didn't go back and forth with him. I didn't even respond to him, actually. Because if you didn't have enough common sense to watch the whole video, then that's on him. But the way I looked at it is, with Devin, should Ryan still be punished? Of course. Because at the end of the day, even though it was a minuscule amount, which I believe didn't do it. If that little bit of amount, the best he could do was probably use it to cut some ounces off. That's about it. But it ain't gonna do much for him. Not when you got things like Nandrolone, which packs on muscle bone. When you have so many different things that I could go down that really boosts his performance. Right. I can't think that, because I remember when I went to school and I started learning about levels. I remember watching the 30 for 30, 9-7 on the track thing, and the lady said with Ben Johnson, she said, oh, by the time we got to tournaments, we were weeks off drugs. We were peaking by the time we got to competition. So when it comes to that minuscule amount with Ryan, do I think it benefited him? I can't tell, because the boy was puffing his chest out the whole fight, and then he would throw a flurry and then run all night until he got his second win, and then throw another flurry and then run again. So it sure didn't help with his stamina. I don't know if it helped with his power, but for sure, you can't, as a fighter, no matter how minuscule the amount is, and I go back to one of my mentors, Lamont Peterson, and Oscar Valdez as well. He said, I never would do that, but it's still my responsibility, because I didn't know that I had put something in my system, and I got laxed. I relaxed when I shouldn't have, with knowing what I had put in my system. That you could look at a fighter and say, oh, he didn't do it on purpose, but he's taking responsibility and knowing that, dang, that one time I relaxed thinking that I'm good, I should have read this or looked at that. So Ryan still should be punished for that. But with Devin, you signed off on the gloves. You signed off on the weight. You took the money for the weight. And then on top of that, you sat there and took this money, and then you wound up fighting this kid when nobody in this world would have sat there and been mad at you if you would have called off the fight, because everybody talking about how it wasn't selling. Everybody was talking about how, all right, the tickets aren't selling, and how erratic Ryan was acting. Nobody, not a soul would have blamed him for calling the fight off. And then all of a sudden you fight, you couldn't get away from the hook. It's unfortunate, but you dogged it out to the end. But all of a sudden, your brother wakes up less than 12 hours after the fight, and he says, yeah, I was on the prayer mat. Allah told me he's going to pop dirty. Seriously? Seriously. Yeah. So, I don't know, just for me personally, and how I look up to you, Mr. Go, I want to get your opinion. What do you think about this lawsuit thing? And you know me, I'm one of the people that I'm okay with being wrong, or I'm okay with being like, okay, I see what you're saying. So tell me, where am I wrong at, or how do you feel about the lawsuit, and what parts do you think I should look at a little more deeper into?
I mean, I think you bring up valid points. I think when you have these subjects, you kind of got to separate them. Um, you got to separate the business aspect versus the field of play aspect. You know, breaking down the X's and O's, what he did wrong, and strategy. That's a different conversation. Just conversation about Ryan popping dirty, no matter how minuscule the amount was, or how much, or you know, uh, the about the maximum amount, max versus minimum. He got popped at the end of the day. I always tell
Yeah.
people if I'm doing 30 and a 25 and I get a ticket, that's somebody, being a jerk, basically giving me the ticket. But at the end of the day, is the speed limit is 25. So
Yeah.
I don't have much legs to stand on, right? So if I go to court and fight that ticket, then I'm kind of being a jerk. So we all being jerks in that certain respect. So I think it's one of them things where, like, when I always say when people suing somebody, again, me personally, I would prefer Devin just get his lick back and keep it moving.
Thank you.
That's my personal thing. But I'm not in their shoes. Unfortunately, we live in a 24/7 like news cycle,
Yeah.
opinion cycle. So I think sometimes what happened is, I'm not saying this is what happened in this case, and I got a lot of respect for Bill Haney
Yeah.
because it's
Me
not
too.
easy what he's doing, being a father, a black man father. On top of that, you can, sometimes even when you do right, they want to prosecute you for doing wrong. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, like you said, right is wrong is wrong. But I do understand that they deal with a lot of scrutiny, and Devin did everything right from a boxing perspective, and still got scrutinized. I can't tell you how many times people have scrutinized him about different things, and Bill, and coming from where we come from. You know how many dudes I know would run through a wall if they could have a Bill Haney in their corner. Most guys I know don't even know their father. One of my
Yeah.
homies met his father upstate in the mountains, and he just happened to run into him in the child line park.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time ever meeting his father. So most people that places that come from places like you and I come from, they don't know their father. So, I commend him from that respect. And I know that he takes a lot of bullets for his son. But I think this is one of them situations where you're not going to get no sympathy from the public. You're not gonna get no
Yeah.
sympathy from the people that already don't like you, and the people that are rocking with you, like somebody like yourself and a lot of others out there. They like, nah, this ain't the way to do it. Like, get your lick back. But again, I think that
Yeah.
because they lost in a shameful way, when you hurt, you want somebody else to hurt. Yeah, and you feel me? Like, I'm hurting, so y'all gotta feel some of this pain that I'm some public shame, the way we feel it public shame. But the problem with the public shame is Ryan Garcia is extremely popular. I think he's like one of these like folk hero type of people. No matter what he do, people are going to support him. He's a Mexican American on top of that, so they have a very loyal fan base. Their fan base ain't like ours. Well, we hot and cold with our fighters, but those people, when it come to their fighters, they loyal to
It's
a
to the
default,
death.
and I commend
Till
them. I
the
respect
death.
that. Where we tear each other down and play each other against each other, so it's a whole different, mindset as a fan. But with all that being said, and I gotta put all the layers out there before I land my plane. But at the end of the day, like I said, my personal opinion and my perspective on it, I wish they would just get their lick back, get a date signed. I heard you fighting Jack Catterall, which is a great comeback fight. I think it's a winnable fight for Devin. And that put him in position to get his lick back for Ryan. But the whole lawsuit thing, I just think that it's a tricky, commodity because they're trying to get back some of that public shame. I just don't think you're ever going to be able to get back. And look, I don't know what fighters go through a lot. You know this. You're around fighters all the time. As am I. I've been around the fighters, trainers, the whole nine. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like, their mindset and their thinking behind this whole process. Like, listen, they felt as though he was doing whatever, and they felt as though, look, when we go out there, we put our life on the line, so we want him to feel a wrath of what he did and potentially save somebody else from dealing with this down the line. So I understand it from that perspective as well, but I just think that from a public perception, again, And maybe they don't care about that. They just doing what, look, at the end of the day, if that's what they feel they need to do, whatever. I just need, for me personally, I need him to get that lick back. Win, lose, or draw. You got to see him again. You got to see that. You got to see him again.
Man, and I spoke, of course, it's not on that height of a magnitude, but I had a situation one time, right? I'm 16, 17. No, I think I was probably 19, and I'm in there with a pro, and he's like, I mean, I'm a kid. I got class the next day at Georgia at college, and I'm supposed to spar this pro, and his wife is in there, and they got their little son in there, like 4 or 5. And I guess he started to feel embarrassed that I'm, outclassing him, I guess. So he started trying to rough me up. And then he poked me in the eye. And it was blatant. And I mean, it was bad. Like how like my eyes swole up or whatever. And my Uncle Bubble said he looked, touched it, and I pulled away because I felt how tender it was. And then he sent me to my dad, and he was like, all right, hey, go finish this off. Did what I did, and then sparred him again with my eyes still tender. And it's because it's just how I grew up. Is, man, you don't let no guy get out on you, especially in this fight, man. You don't let him get out on you, keep getting out on you. You know how it be when pros, you work with pros where they say, hey, kid, don't try to get out on this pro. You hear that? That's what the old saying, don't get out on him. And when I look at Ryan and Devin, it's like, bro, y'all known each other since y'all were kids. Y'all literally would go play video games and then go fight in tournaments together from the hotel room down to. Absolutely. You know where this dude at.
Right.
I hate to say it, but man, stop running your mouth. If it's really like that, I would have been knocked on your door.
But you know what?
Like, come on outside, let's take this walk.
You know what the problem will be now? And this is why it's important for these fights to take place when they're supposed to take place. Now everybody is growing into their full adult bodies. So now this happens in boxing where if you don't get these fights when they're supposed to take place, now Ryan can't make 140 no more. No, De La Hoya
he never wanted to make it, Mr. Cole. Come on.
Right, no, I know exactly, but now what I'm saying is now, though, so now if you fight him, what weight are you not fighting now? Now you have to fight him north of 140. You have now he's going to be bigger. Now he's going to be strong. Listen, this is another thing I want to point out there.
Yes,
maybe Ryan, it's a bad matchup for him. Like you brought up something that's very interesting. They've been fighting since they was kids, so maybe stylistically he might just be a bad matchup for Devin. Look, Vernon Forrest, you're a little younger, but I remember when when he fought Shane, that week leading up to the fight, he was interviewing somewhere. You know, it's pre-social media and all that. So he was, I don't know if I read it somewhere. He said, listen, at the end of the day, I've been beating him since we've been kids. Nothing has changed. I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing to him. And he kept saying timing beats speed. He kept saying it. And you know what happened when they fought. So sometimes some guys is just bad matchups for you. I'm not saying that's the case with Devin. You know, unfortunately, we may not never know, but we need to know. We need to find out. Is he a bad matchup for you or what?
I could say that. I could believe it if he is, because Devin, for the longest, has had a habit of dipping to his right. Not just the bow and arrow thing. Scratch the bow and arrow thing for a second. But he has had a habit of it's a slight tail. But he'll slightly dip to the right. Slightly dip to the right. And when you're dealing with a guy like Ryan, where his thing is hook off the jab, pop, hook off the jab, pop, hook off the jab, brick, hook off the jab. Everything is, he wants to try to load his whipping hook. When you dipping that way, or you pulling and stepping in, his heart, and you lean anywhere towards that right, immediately his quick twitches is gonna, all right, I'm throwing it. And unless you sit there and pull in, and if you're gonna pull in, either pull in here or pull in, grab wrist and lock his arm, and then shoot yourself, work on the inside, rough him up. Because contrary to what people think, because they think Ryan's hook is so short, Ryan needs space to throw his hook. He
Yes.
can't throw his hook on the inside. He cannot do that type of hook on the inside. It ain't gonna work.
So
And if go ahead, Mr. Cole, I want to hear this.
no.
I'm
So
all
listen.
ears.
So one of the things. So one of the ways you take something away? What do? You crowd it.
You
You crowd
crowded.
it. Right?
Yeah.
So for Devin, right? And I always used to say this, right? When people used to ask me, "What's the difference between Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney?" I'm gonna use a basketball analogy here. I said Shakur knows how to move without the basketball. So
Yep.
for those who know about basketball, when you're not scoring, when you're on offense and you don't have the ball in your hand, you have to move to go get open. It's
Yep.
not you can't sit there and as they say in ball watch, pause, but you just can't ball watch. You have to move around and do other things when you don't. Same thing in football with wide
Yeah.
receivers. So for me, that was always the difference. Like I felt like Shakur do more probing, he do more holding, more clinching. He's punching you in certain areas on the blind
He knows
side
how
of
to
the
get
body.
inside guard, lock your arm on the clinch.
There you go. He locked Rasheem Jefferson, right? Boxing Rail, he goes by. That's my man.
You
So he
told me
trained.
this story.
I told you about that,
Yep.
right? He locked.
Yes.
They was
Yes.
they was sparring. Sheen was a fighter at this time. He wasn't a trainer. And I don't know, Shakur was probably like a kid. He locked his
Yeah.
own.
You was like you
He
was
said, yo,
13 or something like that.
yeah, he said, who taught you this move? Because Ralph Fat, he like, oh, my grandfather taught me that move. So these are the things. So when people, not to go on the Shakur Stevenson sidebar, but when
No. No. No.
people,
No. No.
yeah, when people talk about Shakur and talk about he don't have no punch, he do a lot of little subtle things that, trust me, a lot of fighters knew that he do, and people that had sparred with him. Me being from Philly, he from North Jersey, so there's two cities intertwined. So there's a lot of sparring sessions that we've
Yep.
been privy to, and seeing Shakur do some things that the public hasn't seen yet, like do some stuff on the inside and lock guys. I just never saw that out of talented as Dev was. I don't think he ever was, taught to fight that way. Where Dev Haney
Mm-hmm.
was, don't get me wrong, he has a beautiful jab. Although, like you said, sometimes it's telegraphed a bit. But when I was at that fight back in April and I saw him walking towards Ryan Garcia, I said, "Oh, this is going to be a disaster." Because you don't fight. First of all, you don't fight like that. You don't have the abilities and capabilities to fight like that. Like you're fighting on a front foot forward. It's not like you walking down tip of the jab. He was lowing up, and I seen him training leading up to the fight with MMA gloves on, hitting a heavy bag. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. But then when you get to the first round, he was again. You start buying into the public. You ain't got no punching power and all that. You heard what Shakur said. Sometimes you just got to box and get up out of there and deal with the backlash later because they're going to criticize you regardless. Rather if you box or you get knocked out, they're going to criticize you. So I much rather lean on the latter side and box and just get – because if you box smartly and boxing spurts and spots, you win that fight on a landslide going away. Because when he was boxing, he was giving Ryan Garcia problems. But he was loading up, coming forward, walking into the same shot. Like, he never recovered from the first round, though, to be honest with you. Whenever
Yeah.
that first,
Remember we talked about that. That each
he
time he got
never,
hurt, he never fully recovered.
he
Made it
never
worse.
recovered. So what happens is he still kind of dazed and confused off the first knockdown that took place. So now you know what happened when you get knocked down. You're trying to get it all back. You're trying to shoot three. You're trying to shoot some threes. You're trying to count by three instead of count by two. So he was trying to get it all back in one whop. So, and that's the worst thing you can do in a boxing ring.
And my thing is, when I saw it, I thought the same thing. When he started to come forward, I'm like, you got to remember, this kid has a whipping hook. He ain't got that much of a jab. He
Right.
throws everything at one speed. He doesn't mix it up. So that's a good thing for you. You know, no matter what, it's gonna come off same speed. But you gotta sit there and give him something to look at. Sit there and block him here. As soon as you see him trying to put his little flash jab out there, hit his shoulder, control his shoulder, and then pull in. Smother here, pull his, and then the feet pissed me off because
Yeah. That
I was
too.
just working. Yeah, I was just working with one of my teammates who just fought on Pro Box, Frankie Scarborough. Where me and him were moving around together and light sparring. And when I started to come forward, I know how dangerous my friend is. He's very, very dangerous with his power. It's very sneaky. When you think it ain't coming, it's coming, and then he hurts you, and then you're more hurt than what you thought you was gonna be hurt every time he hits guys. So as I'm coming to him, I like skipped to him, and then when I got to a certain distance, took 2 full steps, and then after that, everything was like
Yeah.
little steps. Look, and with Ryan, it's very similar. You cannot just think you just gonna walk here like he hurt. Oh no, it ain't gonna work like that. He'll knock your head off, and that's what he wound up doing. You cannot do that. And when you in it with a guy like that, even when he ran out of gas and he threw them flurries and ran out of gas, he not once walked to him and did this, cut him off, and
Yeah.
then like the jab ain't got land, just put it out there like little flat bar, it's close. Boom, now we hit close. Oh, he gonna throw that hook. I know it's coming. I know it's coming. I'm not really worried too much about the brick. The brick gonna be a show. The jag gonna be a show. Oh, there it is. Boom, pull in,
Yep.
grab,
Yep.
pull that. Boom, it worked. All right, now we gonna see if you know how. Start hitting him on the hips, hit him on the thigh, hit him on the collarbone. Stop pulling your shoulder on him. Throw your shoulder. Get off me. It, and that's my thing. You made yourself. Ryan should still be punished no matter what. Because as a fighter, and this is coming from me with my situation when it became public and fighters that knew me were like, wait a minute, because they're so used to seeing people who have my situation, their eyes are yellow and things like that. So I don't look it. So they were like, wait, you were performing that way, you had this. And then after that, having to show a commission, these are my medicines. This is what are, no matter what, these may be in, this one will be in my system, this one may be in my system, but you see, here it is. It gives me no advantage, doesn't give me this, doesn't give me that, or whatever. Now, and that's coming from my personal experience. I took responsibility for anything, even when having to get what I told you I had to get earlier. Landing, this is what, even though it ain't gonna be like EPO and give me no big thing, if anything, it's gonna put me in the normal range of a person like you. But just the responsibility of, I'm the fighter, this is what I put in my system. He has to be punished for that. But at the end of the day, as the fighter, you looked at Ryan, you went through with the fight, you signed off on the gloves, you signed off on the wraps, you signed off on the weight, and took the money for the weight. What are we bitching about here? Yeah. If you really feel that way and you talking all this junk in interviews saying he gonna get his in the ring and out of the ring, then okay, you know what to do that. Y'all, they all know each other. They all know with each other. They all been in camps with each other. It's just like me, the Russells, Montez, Fox, all of us. We all grew up together. Man, we know each other mamas. You go get yours back if you really feel like that. Not with your boys, like you do. Not with all your dudes with you. Go, yeah, me and you. Oh, you see him at a boxing event? Yeah, me and you need to go take a walk. Yeah, come take this walk with me.
Dev, at some point, it's because it's weird how that fight, so much was lost after so much was gained for both guys. Like,
yes.
I'm sitting here, first of all, like being there live at the Barclays Center, like watching like Ryan Garcia's popularity. I'm like, damn, he's probably gonna be the next Canelo De La Hoya type, because like it was electrifying in there. Like it was crazy. Like how he had like everybody just on tilt in this whole arena. Then after the fight, everything just went left.
Yeah.
Like this great fight, it's almost like it never happened. Like it's but we know it did happen. Obviously we talking about it, but everything that was lost from that fight, and in the Cotto Margarito is kind of actually a good parallel, because I remember leading up to that fight, how big that fight was. Remember, that fight was huge because two reasons. It was Mexico versus Puerto Rico. I don't think Margarito was undefeated. I think he had like one loss, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
because remember he had his first loss when he was 15 years old. He had
Right, so
lost. He had three
one loss,
losses.
but
Yeah,
he was treated like he was an undefeated fight because he was running through
yeah,
everybody.
yeah. He
And,
had went undefeated for 7 years up to that point.
and both fighters, that fight right there, although Cotto would go on and have more success, but let's be honest, like his career really, it kind of peaked out at that point where he had flashes of moments after that. He had flashes of moments, right? Because
Hmm.
Pacquiao, remember, he gets knocked out by Pacquiao. He had a crazy like 2-3 years after that. He gets knocked out
Yeah,
by Pacquiao. I don't know when he lost to like the Claudies and the Austin Trouts and the Saddam Ali's of the world. I don't know when all that took place, but his career like flamed out at 26 years. I believe he was 26 when he fought Margaret. Not flamed out, but it fizzled out from what it had because look, we're speculating because unfortunately Cotto team didn't do a good enough job. Like shout out to Nassim Richardson,
yes,
Kobe
Lord God rest his beautiful soul.
from the crib who was able to assess that for the Shane Mosley fight. So then we got to go back in time and play. So this is how he was running through these jokers like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but this is why it's important to have a thorough team to assess all that stuff. But that's water under the bridge. But the point I was trying to make was that parallel was good because that fight was like kind of similar where so much had happened for the lead up and the build up, then it all got washed away. It all got washed away because of the hand rats of Margarito and then Ryan Garcia. And Ryan Garcia, if that drug situation didn't happen, bro, do you know how big? He's probably in like probably 2 pay-per-view fights by now since then. Because what they
Oh
fought
hell yeah.
at least once he
Nah.
fought. At least once he'll be fighting in a big pay-per-view fight, But he on the bench right now until next year. I still think it'll resume, but it's just a shame because that fight we should be talking about the rematch right now. That's what you and I should be
Yes.
talking about right now. Is the
At
rematch?
47, if any of that.
Yeah,
But now that
yeah,
leads to this. Who does Devin fight next? He can't go to 47 because I always tell people the tricky
yeah.
thing about 47 is 47 you got some guys that it's got guys that's coming down that walking around at 60
Yeah.
instead of 51.
I
And that's the
mean,
tricky part.
could he beat
Who are you gonna
him?
hit to keep off of him, Mr. Cole?
I was going to say, could he outbox a guy like Brian Norman? Absolutely. But
Yes, yeah, yeah.
to your point though, is the keep off point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then that's when we go with playing without the ball in your hand. So now you got to do some other stuff to fill in gaps when you're not keeping the joker up off you. So that's the question about 47. Now, look, these guys they grow into their body as time goes on. They still really young too. Like they're extremely young, so they're not even 30 yet. So by the
Mm-hmm.
time you get closer to 30, you may be able to gradually grow there. But the problem is Boots is up there. So
Ah.
Boots gotta clear out first before any of them start talking about 147. Now that the Tilos and
You got
those guys
Sweezy
start
at 40.
huh?
Yeah, go down the list. Yeah, you just said two names. You also got Sweezy, my god brother Antoine Russell. You
Y'all
got
too
him
much.
at 40. He
Yup.
wants Devin bad.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
tough.
I ain't
That's a
never
tough
seen my
fight for
god
Dub.
brother talk like that. I ain't seen my god brother talk like that since we was amateurs and it was a certain kid he wanted to meet in the bracket. I ain't never heard him talk like that.
That's a tough fight for Dub. Again, like we talking about relentless pressure, and it's just he like the blueprint is going to like now Jack Catterall. I like Jack Catterall, but that's a winnable
Yeah.
fight for Dub. That Australian boy though, Liam Perro, that's a tricky fight right there. That boy could fight. That boy could fight. He could box and he got a good inside. Like he's a complete fighter. He's highly skilled. the highly skilled. And I told people when for the Sabrio Matias, because I never liked him. And I told you that last time I was on your fight.
Yeah,
I don't have a
yeah,
personal against him. I just know that Rock'em Sock'em, come straight on
yeah.
the play
He just
line.
come forward.
You can beat anybody with an ounce of slickness can beat that style.
And not
You know,
just that, not just the slickness. We gotta remember the other thing with guys like us who were taught from the real old timers, what they say about guys like Sabrio Matias. You're not knocking out everybody.
yeah,
Sooner or later, you're gonna come across a kid who I always go back to this story when Mr. Anthony fought Bam Bam. And Bam Bam, he very called it. You outbox him. When I say drop it, drop the brick on him.
yeah,
And Bam Bam fired, drop it, doop, 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 and you just see Bam Bam go, really
yeah.
laugh at him. And it, man, and with Devin and Ryan, my problem with that is these two guys are growing into their man bodies still. And it's like when you have your growth spurt when you're a kid and you skip 2 shoe sizes and your mama like, damn, I just bought you some shoes. It's like, and you just moved up to this weight class. You can't make the weight, gotta move up.
Yeah.
And you still gotta sit on shot. Devin, I think Devin can crack hard enough. I really do. I do not. He doesn't have a lot of hand issues. I just believe his mechanics have to be broken down. He needs to lean on that back foot a little more. Work on your hip shifting. Practice your. He needs to do a lot more shit. Get off the heavy bag for a second. Do your heavy bag work and box on the heavy bag. But after that, get that shield. Get that shield. Come over here and I'm gonna put the body bag on. I'm gonna get the shield and I need this. I'm gonna watch your feet. Every time I call hook, I'm gonna call hook here. I'm gonna go break here. I'm gonna go roll. I'm gonna do, and I want to see how you shift on that front foot. How are you shifting on your back foot? Are you squatting? Are you leaning on that kickstand as my assistant trainer Metro would say? Lean on that kickstand and shift, and you'll feel the difference. And every time he ain't never been wrong. I'll shoot a shot and it feel good. He said that was good, but I need you to lean more. And all of a sudden you hear it echo. Today, Jaleel Hackett was in the gym with me. And Jaleel, I always say I had sneaky pop or whatever, like it's more speed or whatever. And then I may drop something hard. And the day I shivered, he said, whoo! And I was like, and he smiled at me. He said, whoo! I was like, what? He's like, man, I heard that jump. It's because it's a certain way. And Devin, I believe that if you take his mechanics, break it down a little more, force him to work on inside game with you after he's done his workout and he's a little tired. After he's done the heavy bag, and you put the body bag on, put the shield in his face, and make him have to hook. Boom. No, shift a little more. Drop. Sit. Now shift. And now see the difference and take it from there and there. I really believe that he could have a resurgence of his power. But he has to want it though. He has to want to learn that though.
And again, it comes down to the something like again the style. Sometimes certain styles, maybe that style might have just been wrong for him. Like I just think Devin is going to look better in certain fights where the fight is more technical. But if he's fighting in a fight where there's a more physical aspect to it, it may look a little different because certain things I just don't think that like. You can learn things, don't get me wrong, but I feel like when fighters get in trouble, they go back to what they always
They
know.
go back, especially when they tired. Especially when they tired.
Too. I just think that they go back to what they know. And I just think that Devin, for a lot of his career, he was a lot more talented than the guys he was fighting. Not that he was fighting a bunch of bums. I'm just saying that he was able to overcome some pitfalls with some things where when you fight a guy young, bigger, like you said, like a lot of things leading up to the fight just wasn't thorough. Like the whole weight situation, like you said, you essentially fighting a welterweight, a junior welterweight, north. Because I feel like, look, bro, at the end of the day, anything north of 140 is you might as well say is welterweight. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like 142, even though 147 obviously the limit, but if you go over 140 and his titles on the line, those titles ain't legitimate no more. But if a 47 title is on the line, you can fight under 47. So I just felt like you essentially was fighting a welterweight. You know what I mean? Like, so he gotta rumble him again. Long story short, that's what it comes down to. You have to rumble him again.
Sweet Pea didn't ask for no catch weight. Trinidad, who was coming up from 40, 47s and all going up to middleweight, didn't ask for no catch weights. And I said this, and oh God, I'm so glad that I thought of this because you're here. I said this months ago. It's a clip of me where I said Devin reminds me of the original Golden Boy. His name was Art Aragon, the original Golden Boy. And that back then, things were different. There wasn't no junior or light weight
Yeah.
classes.
Wasn't
If
it? He was original, right?
he fought I forget the champion that he beat, but he beat him without the title on the line, and he had to fight him at 35. And he always made the joke to his dying day, man, I was the first fighter that ever had to be carried into the ring for the fight.
Ah,
And and he fought and he was done by the ninth because he was so drained. And then he moved up to 47 and he fights another champion and loses that title shot because that guy was too big. And when that and he couldn't keep him off of him. And he fights Carmen Basilio. And they go back into the dressing room. And back in those days, they used to have all the reporters come in the dressing room after you put your suit on, king, or whatever. So he's like this on the wall. It's a picture of him like this on the wall. And the quote says, he said, "Hey, Artie, would you fight Carmen again?" He said, "Do I get a gun?" he was like, "What do you want to do now?" "I really want to get a beer and get rid of a headache." And he was like, and he said, now that there's a 140 weight class, I probably would have been a 140 pounder these days. And I may have would have won a title at 140 if that was there back then. And with the discipline has to be there. I understand that these guys are kids, and I completely agree with you about making it. But there has to be a certain amount of discipline with Ryan and a certain amount of discipline with Devin. We're 2 fights in with Devin. We're hearing about he might move up to 47. Bro.
Well, Devin, this is what I think happened with this is the problem I think with Devin. I think for a while he's outgrown these weights, especially 135. He's been outgrown that, but they was, cutting weight. Roy Jones, not to get off subject, Larry wrap up, but Roy said something a couple of years ago. He said if he fought today, the way they weight cut now, he said I probably would have been at middleweight a lot longer than I was back then. Remember they was all the way up to they moved all the way up to light heavyweight. Him and James. Well, James ended up going to heavy. James Sony, he moved all the way up to heavyweight, right? But anyway, Roy was saying the weight cuts. He was just saying because they was asking about weight bullying. He's like you seeing it way more than you ever seen it before because these guys have found loopholes to cut the weight. But that don't mean, to your point, that they're not killing themselves. That's not really not killing themselves. But you look through in boxing, right? The people think I'm crazy when I say this, right? But I said Artur Beterbiev can fight at heavyweight. And the reason why I said that is because that Joker is he's just
bruh. Man. Did you see his forearms? Do you see his forearms? What the hell?
Right. If Michael Moorer could move from light heavyweight to heavyweight, or Artur Beterbiev could move up. See, a lot of people don't know the history of a lot of these fighters that skipped and went right to heavyweight. He's a guy I always bring up because nobody talks about him that much.
Skipped junior heavyweight.
Yeah, right, and went straight to heavyweight and held his own. Now he has some chin issues, but he held his own. So I'm looking at Artur Beterbiev. I'm like, if Usyk beats Fury, they have history from the Olympics, the whole nine. They should. That's a conversation that you should be wanting to listen to. But anyway, I brought him up is because you got a guy like him that's fight. The one thing that was glaring in that fight was he was obviously bigger than Dimitri Bivol. I'm just like, damn.
Yeah.
A solid light heavyweight. He just looked so much bigger than him to me.
It just walking.
He just looked so much like a bigger fighter. But again, these guys, Tomas Adamek. I don't know if you remember him.
Yes, he
Yeah.
fought Chad Dawson in that, man. He was
He fought
nice.
Chad. He fought my guy Steve. I walked Steve in the ring that night. He fought Steve Cunningham and he knocked.
Yeah.
He ended up beating Steve. Steve was giving him the rip. He was giving him work.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Mr. Steve. He showed me so much love.
My
Shout out
guy,
to him.
that's family. So Steve, I'm like, Steve, what? You know, he got caught, unfortunately, and, you know, he ended up losing the fight. But that guy had dynamites in his midst. Anyway, he's like better beef size, right? You know, I think he ended up moving a cruiserweight. I
Yeah,
mean,
he
not
did.
cruiserweight, pardon me. Not cruiserweight. I'm sorry. He was fighting at cruiserweight. I think he ended up moving up to heavyweight. But you brought up Chad. He fought Chad at light heavyweight. He fought
Yeah, he
Steve
fought
at
Chad at
cruiserweight.
light heavyweight. I remember
And he
Chad
fought
had on the
Steve.
red, white, and blue trunks that night on Showtime.
Remember, Floyd was yelling at Chad. But what we will learn later is that this guy does this to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just Chad he was doing this to. He was like a better beef type where if he puts your hands on you, you are either falling to the ground or he's going to bruise or potentially break things on your body. You know, because he was a cruiserweight fighting at light heavyweight. But see,
Yep.
now you have that's so normal. The other night, what's my man? Tim Tszyu.
Oh my God. Man.
Here's a
Man.
middleweight, potentially super middleweight, fighting that junior middleweight. Like, I'm looking at Tim Tszyu, he looks like a welterweight now. I'm like, look how little, and Tim Tszyu always looks big to these guys.
Mr. Cole, so I don't know if you watched the Pro Box card from last week when it was at Rose Cross Raceway. That's the one I told you my friends were fighting on or whatever. We're in the back. I'm with Mikey Fox, Professor Fox, the Roach family, my cousins, we all in the back, and they bring the phone out. Because the Fox boys are notorious for watching the fight. They notorious for it. So they go, oh my God. We go over and look. And I always tell people, it's a difference between hitting the guy, wow, he wobbles, takes a knee, and he's hurt. And you can look at a guy and he's breaking them. Okay, he breaks guys down. Then you look at another guy, oh, he got knocked out. He got only 3 guys went the distance, but majority of his knockouts was boom, dude, rocks to the ropes, flurry, big shot, stop. Then it's another type of guy where they hit you and your light switch is literally off before you hit the ground. And he hit Tim Tszyu and Tim Tszyu just dropped like he was throwing the hook in between. And his whole body just turned and just
he turned it over.
I was like, what the I said they didn't do their research on this guy. They didn't watch the tape on this guy.
First of all, and I get upset, not at you, but when people describe what took place, that was a catch and shoot. He in a high guard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was a setup.
And he went in front of the glove to the temple. Wow.
And turned the left hand over on him. You're on an island. You know how the catch and shoot go. You know, if you don't succeed, now you're in no man's land now. Yeah. It's gonna return back to you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Tim Tszyu was on that island where you don't want to be with no transportation to get back.
Now, before I let you go, I gotta ask you. You got Fondora supposedly supposed to fight Earl. I don't like the fight for Earl. Earl says he doesn't believe in tune-ups. This is my thing with this. He said something that told on himself. We all knew for years. But Earl said, you know what was the biggest tell sign about me losing to Bud? That was just all my bad nights catching up to me.
Yeah.
And I immediately brought all my younger fighters right there and told them what he said. Everybody always talks about that clip of him, Bunny, Twin, Tank, all of them, 1 or 2 sheets to the wind backstage. And the thing people gotta understand is when you're fighting, you touching them liquor, especially dark liquor, you understand. Remember they used to pick on Tank and call him the Cabbage Patch Kid in between fights? Yeah. And that liquor sit on you. Your spit get thick and you try to cut that weight off, trim it down, and you get away with it for a little while. Your body snap out of it quick, and at a certain point, your body just don't want to do it no more. And you gotta understand, I always bring up that story with Hector Camacho. Hector Camacho said that when he got hurt against Chapo Rosario, Edwin Rosario gets hurt,
Okay.
Bone comes back, wins the fight, goes backstage. The reporter who beat right on, hey Macho, what time is it, Macho? He said, man, it's time to go to sleep. And he said, why? He said, what? He said, man, I can't keep getting away with this. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. Think I'm gonna fight on this level. Of course, we know he still kept doing it, but that's not
Yeah,
the point.
of course.
Is
Of
that
course.
you your body will snap out of it. Your body keep doing it, keep going, whatever. But at a certain point, your body in this, especially in this sport, ain't gonna allow you to do it. So now with Earl, you always heard stories about Earl that is the lovable town drunk. This is what somebody in the fight game told me. I'm gonna tell y'all, and I'm gonna say it to Mr. Cole. I always was taught growing up, the fight game is not a barbershop. It is a hair salon.
Right.
And people say, man, everybody love Earl. Earl is the lovable town drunk. Like Eddie Griffin, you ever watch the Andy Griffin show? And the
Yeah.
dude, the drunk dude, that everybody love in town, him. That's what they said he was. And he said, all my bad nights are just catching up to me. And when
Yeah.
you sit there, and now you got this kid, he's gonna move up to 54. He's gonna fight Fondora. Of course, we all know he's a body. You know, Earl's a body snatcher. He can get inside. He can make things difficult for you. He can make little subtle movements to where he's out of the shot, where you think he's there for the counter. But at the same time, this is a tall kid who don't mind throwing shots on the inside, who can cut you up accidentally and on purpose because of how he fights.
Yeah.
And you're going back in there to a potential another war. And I'm tired of people saying this, oh, he would have beat Bud if it was pre-car accident. I'm like, y'all wasn't saying that when y'all was calling him the bone collector after the car accident. He was breaking people's eye sockets and ribs. It wasn't nothing about no car accident then. But now y'all want to say it's a car accident. Look now, pick your battles. Pick
Yeah.
y'all battles. Y'all act like these fighters is paying y'all bills. Stop it. Be
Yeah.
honest about it. You think Mr. Cole ain't had to teach me some things and say, yeah, but look at this. Then you
Right.
got to be honorable about it. But I really am worried about Earl fighting this fight. I do not like this fight for him. I do not like it.
I'm still not 100% it's going to happen. Me personally, I'm
Yes,
still not
sir.
100. You see, it keep getting pushed back, right? You see, it done got pushed back.
Oh,
Yeah, but if it does, I think that's a tough hill to climb. You know, pun intended. That's a tough hill to climb up. Coming off remember, he hasn't fought none this year.
at all.
None. So
After a beating.
this whole part-time fighting thing that these guys are doing, like not fighting a whole year, and then you're gonna come back and fight a guy that throws like 1,000 punches around and fight like you said. I like that too. I'm a bar that you said on purpose or on accident that can cut you. And I just think that like coming back from that beating he took against Bud, I just don't think at this age, what he's been through, I just don't see how you just recover back like that without a tune-up. And I respect Earl. Look, maybe he just like, look, if I can't beat this kid, maybe I'm just done. Look, respect. But I think he going to have to work on his last day of last day. You know, your last day of school, the teacher. Well, in my day, they would bring the roller out.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
the TV, Magic School
So
Bus to come
what?
on.
But you get one of these teachers, one of these gung ho ambitious teachers that want to give you some little essay on the last day of school. That's what's going to happen with him if he fight. I'm telling you, I don't think the fight happening, bro. I'd be shocked. They keep playing around with dates. First of all, I'm gonna tell you why I don't think it's happening. I
Yes,
don't think
sir.
Devontae's going to fight this year. That's what I
Yes,
do
sir.
think. And I think he's probably going to fight in the beginning of this 25. And then that's going to be a perfect excuse. Well, Javante, he holds press. We gave him precedence, so he going to get that date. Earl's going to fight. I don't know. Maybe there's a vacant time, but the belts is kind of tight up there right now. So I don't know, bro. I don't foresee that fight taking place. I bet you people are talking to him. That's why
Of
it's probably
course.
postponed about not doing the fight. But Earl gonna do what Earl want to do at the end of the day, and I always commend and I respect him for that. But like you said, man, that lifestyle and Andre Ward always talk about it normally tells when you're around the seventh after the 8th round. I think he said it tells on you. When you
Oh
start
yeah.
he said that's what got him over in the rematch of the Kovalov fight, his lifestyle versus Kovalov.
Yep.
Remember, John David Jackson was like, you know,
He drinks a lot of vodka.
He liked that sauce. You know, so, but yeah, let's listen. Well, bro, let's do this again.
Man, yes, indeed. I'm about to
gonna
wrap up the show with you.
I'm going to do a live later in this week on my page, Instagram live. I'm going to just have you jump on with me so we can talk.
Hell yeah. You got my number. So hit me so I can get on with you. Definitely. And let me know what time.
Yeah, we'll do something later in the week, and we'll just chop it up at real time with the IG people, you know, and we'll go from there. All right?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Guard Your Grill Boxing, Mr. Cole. We like to thank our sponsors tonight, El Paso Route 1, Charm Bache. We are out tonight. See y'all next time, man. Oh, man.
If you're looking for a way to power up your nutrients with a plant-based protein powder, then Raw Vegan Plant-Based Protein is the perfect choice. This vegan protein is packed with essential nutrients to help you stay energized and healthy. With plant-based protein powder becoming increasingly popular amongst health-conscious individuals, it's no surprise that Raw Vegan Plant-Based Proteins has become a leader in the industry. Whether you're an athlete or just looking to increase your daily protein intake, this vegan protein powder can help you reach your goals. Visit rawvegan.com. Again, rawvegan.com.